All right, so this is part 2 of our independent-dependent variable notes. And so now we're going to talk about writing an equation. So we know how to identify our independent and we know how to identify our independent. So here we've got our dependent was what value? Our x or our y? Preston?
Y.
Y, very good. And then our independent variable was which value? Kayla? X. Very good. All right, here I have an example. A freight train moves at a constant speed of 50 miles per hour. Knowing just that information, nothing else but just that information, we are going to be able to set up a table and come up with our rule or our equation for this problem. So we know that he travels at 50 miles per hour. It's a constant, so that means it's not like when we drive a car and we say, yeah, we went 50 miles an hour, but then really it depends. If you're coming through town, you're going to slow down. If you're on 87 and it's a flat, you kind of go faster, things like that. This is a constant rate. It means that there was no traffic, nothing like that. Plus it's a train, so you don't have to really worry about traffic. I think the train wins. Okay, so we can set up a table 2 different ways. We can set it up vertically, or we could set it up horizontally. You're probably most familiar with it being set up vertically. And you notice when we have it set up now, we've got 3 different columns, correct? We've got our x value, we've got the change or the rule, and we've got the y value. All right, so here let's figure out what is our independent and dependent. So we need to come up with what is going to be our y value is going to be our dependent. So what is going to be dependent on x? Okay, first let me rephrase that. What would x be? Go ahead.
50 miles per hour?
That's the constant. So the constant is 50. What would x be? Go ahead.
The time or
It's not going to be time. It's going to be what?
how far? How far?
It's going to be the distance, right? So on here I'm going to put x is equal to the distance,
So, right? No.
right?
I said how far then? According to my calculations, that's not what you said.
Is x really going to be distance? Or would x be the hours?
It would be the hours.
Because if you drive for 50 miles per hour, so in 1 hour, how far did you go?
50 miles.
In 2 hours, so how are we going to come up with that?
By the time.
We're going to take x and multiply it because x is going to be our hours, not our distance. The y will be the distance. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Because your distance depends on how long that train's going, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Wouldn't y'all agree?
Yes, ma'am.
The distance that it travels is going to be depending on how many hours that it's going to be running. If it only goes for 5 hours, it's only going to go 250 miles, right? Versus if it was running for 20 hours. Yes? Okay. So now knowing this, we're going to come up, if my x value, if I said, okay, look, in 1 hour, we said this was going to be hours, and this was going to be distance. In 1 hour, what would be the total distance?
Oh,
Go ahead.
it'll be 50.
50 miles, right? Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we need to come up with the rule. We know that the constant is 50 miles per hour. So we're going to take 50 and we're going to multiply it by 1. That will give me my distance, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So my rule would be 50 times x will give me what y is. So if I went for 2 hours, what would my distance be? Cole?
100 miles.
100 miles. And what was my rule? 50 times x, this time was 2, gives me 100. What if I put a 5 here? What is my rule? 50 times 5 is going to give me 250 miles. So now if I took this this table that I have, would I be able to graph that? No, wait, these are my x values and these are my y values. Could I make an ordered pair from that? Remember our ordered pairs were x, comma, y. Would I be able to make an ordered pair from that and be able to graph it? This would be my x, my y, my x, and my y, right? All right, same thing. Horizontally, all I did was take this graph and change it to the side. Same thing, x is still going to be hours, y will still be distance, and the rule will still be 50x equals y. 50 times 1 is going to give me 50. 2 would be 50 times 2, would still give me 100. Sorry, I didn't do 3, I did 5. And 50 times 5 would still give me 250. Now I can make an extra box here if I wanted to and say, okay, you know what? Give me my ordered pairs. What would my ordered pairs look like for this first one if I were to be plotting it? X, comma, y. Carson?
It would be 50 and then 1.
X. What is my X?
1 then 50.
1, then 50. This ordered pair would be, Cole?
2 and 100.
2, comma, 100. My last one, Tyler?
Would be 5 and 250.
Not too bad, right?
No.
I didn't think so.
Pretty simple.
All right. Go ahead and glue that into your journal.